Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scofie Sessions. I am your host, Jonathan Schofield. My friends call me Scofie. And if you registered to be here today, you might already know this. If you happen to stumble across our lovely faces while scrolling, what Scofie Sessions is simply my shameless excuse to hang out with great friends of mine, peers in the industry, people who I find fascinating, and hopefully we can find something valuable that everyone can benefit from today. Today we have our special guest, and I'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself in a little more detail in a moment. But Dustin Sitton is the founder and CEO of Insight Automation, and we are thrilled to discuss today. We have X at Home, an idiot's guide to stop buying software you already have. So who is this for? If you use Microsoft, this is for you. If you are a business leader in any capacity that uses Microsoft or a host of similar business applications, this is for you. If you're an IT service provider, MSP, or anyone who is active in the IT channel, this is for you. You're going to find this incredibly fascinating. Dustin is a good friend. Insight Automation has been a close partner of ours in a lot of different capacities over the last few months. We've had other Insight folks on this show before. Blake, I'm looking at you. And very excited for this conversation for a couple of reasons. First of all, not everybody has the stories Dustin has. And last week, I had the privilege of meeting Dustin in person. Finally, after months of chatting about going live together, we actually met in person in Philadelphia. And it was just an absolute joy. And so anyways, Dustin, we are so thrilled that you are here with us today. Before I give you a chance to introduce yourself in more details, if you are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, either live or watching the recording back, do us a favor. Say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from and what it is that you do. And we want to shout you out. And also, you have industry experts at your disposal today. So if you have questions or you want to stump one of us or you're just curious, don't be shy. It helps us out when you engage, and we're glad that you're here. Blake, Jess, I see you both there in the comments. Thank you so much for being here, and everybody else online. Dustin!
Yeah.
Glad you're here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Dustin Sitton. I'm the principal of Insight Automation. We are a low-code software development firm based in Baltimore, Maryland. We've got a staff of about 30, and we were built from the ground up for Power Platform development, Salesforce development, any sort of development using industry-leading platforms. That's what we do. I am so excited to be here today. I've got so many stories to tell, Jonathan, about what I've been up to. Even with the smoothing on, you can see there's big bags under my eyes right now, like huge bags. I have been through the ringer. I'm supposed to be on vacation this week. I got back, 10, 20 minutes ago from that vacation that was supposed to go through Saturday. The first vacation house we rented, no air conditioning, 100 plus days. And I haven't slept in days. Then they gave us a second house filled with bed bugs, tons of bed bugs. The beds were moving. And so we just said, we're just going to pack it up and go home. And so normally I have a very polished setup. I've got cool microphones like you. I've got an awesome camera. I've got sleep. And no, I have none of those things today. So you're going to hear it raw today because I can't put on like I normally do. So you get me in my home. That's why everything's behind me with no sleep whatsoever. And I'm very excited to talk to you. It's going to be awesome.
Well, Dustin, here at Scofie Sessions, we like it raw. So I'm glad you're here.
Awesome. That's what we're getting today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So when we were in the green room before we went live, Dustin shared, the Too Long Don't Read version of that story he just shared with you guys. And I'm like, man, I feel humbled and privileged that this was priority enough for you to hang out with us, and you would have been doing this on vacation with us. So, dude, we respect that. So, Becky, IT reseller, hardware, software, and services. Glad that you're here, Becky. And of course, Blake, former guest on the live cast. Glad that you're here. And Jess is our people. So always a pleasure to see you. Don't be shy in the chat. Okay, so We have about 25 minutes to run down some rabbit trails, get on some soapboxes, and have some fun. When I asked Dustin, what we should discuss today, and we kind of explored topics that we were both passionate and interested in, I said, what's the big controversial statement you would say to an IT provider or to a business leader? And you said something to the effect of, it's like, stop buying stuff that you already have.
Yeah.
So let's paint a little bit of context for that statement, Dustin, and then we'll start running with it.
Sure. So when I'm talking to end customers, when I'm talking to MSPs, it always starts with this, Dustin, we're trying to pick, and I'm just picking an example, project management software, and we're looking at Asana and this and this and this and this, and like, which one should we choose? And I always end with, how about one you already own? And they're like, what do you mean? And then I show them everything they already own in the Office 365 ecosystem, or the G Suite, or just the products they already have. And then the answer is always, well, I didn't know I already owned all of those things, all of those options. And I mean, I get it. There are some fantastic tools out there in the market, but when you buy 17 different systems, you wind up typing a new customer's name or new employee's name 17 times, right? Your pain shifts from picking a product to integrating all the things you have together. So I always just tell people out of the gate, whenever somebody says, is there one piece of advice? Look at what you already own. See if it's a fit, then go buy something else. Because a lot of the work we do directly with MSPs, directly with end customers, is simplifying their tech stack, lowering the number of bills they have, making their integrations easier because everything's in the same ecosystem. That's the biggest thing that we do. And when we talk to our MSP partners and we show them the world of stuff that's out there, without fail, the answer is always, wow, I had no idea all that stuff was in there, right? That's what we always hear.
That's right. What comes to mind as I'm hearing you talk is a trajectory I've seen so many businesses find themselves on, where they start out early on in their venture and things are running hunky-dory, everything's smooth, and they encounter problem X, okay? And whatever problem X is, there's a finite number of ways to solve for X. And the reactive, passive approach to technology is, all right, let's go find the Band-Aid. And whatever that Band-Aid is, what's being talked about in the marketplace, what's really popular right now, that must be the thing we must need. And we go and acquire that. And then we go and we apply the Band-Aid. All right, now maybe the Band-Aid's great for a little while, but then something else goes wrong. 5 years later, 6 months later, down the road, it was like, oh, we have problem Y now. Now we got to go solve for Y. So we go out and we go and find a new Band-Aid, another solution, another piece of tech. And then what happens is this approach, compounds year over year. And this is the way that you buy technology and solve problems in your business. And you wake up in 15 years and you've got this patchwork quilt of technical debt that is way more painful than the sum total of all the pain that those Band-Aids were solving for to begin with. And what I'm hearing you say is, like, in a lot of cases, that reactive panic buying of Band-Aids doesn't need to happen, when the reality is, if you take 2 steps back, look internally at some of the things that are already around you, you may have a solution you already didn't know about.
That's part of it, yes. That's the biggest piece. Always start with what you have. The other thing that I think we as professionals do that maybe folks that have less experience don't do is total the car. And what I mean by that is, my father, when he was in his 20s, was a claims adjuster, okay? And he would start looking at damage on a car. And when the damage went over its value, he didn't keep adding up the damage. He would just go, nope, on to the next. You know what I mean? This car's totaled, and he'd walk away, right? And I think when people evaluate software for their organizations, they look at all the reasons why it will work. That's not what I do when I evaluate software. I look immediately at why won't it work, right? And the second I can find a reason it won't fit the need, near term, long term, I move on, right? The second that happens, and I think a lot of folks miss that. I need this feature. I need feature X and Y and Z. This has X, Y, and Z. I'm going to buy it. And then I'll say, great. Does it have a dev and a test environment? And they'll say, what do you mean? It has X, Y, and Z. I'm good. And I go, well, great. And then you're going to go live, and then your staff of 10 is going to start using it. But what happens if you need to add some more fields in the future?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Well, what if this today isn't what you need 6 months from now? Are you going to tell everybody to just stay out of the system for 2 days while you add those additional fields and functionality? Is that your plan? Oh, I hadn't thought of that, right? So I say, well, some software gives you a development environment where you can make changes, and then you can try those changes out, and then you can move those changes to production, what everybody's using, when they're ready, you know? So that way you don't have to move stuff down. Oh, I didn't think of that. I could really use that. Yes, you could, but it wasn't X and it wasn't Y and it wasn't Z. But it's still really important. And it's that sort of stuff that from experience of seeing this over and over again of what features of functionality you might need. Same with APIs, right? Making programs talk to each other. Some programs have great APIs. Some programs have no ability to talk to other software. That's not X, that's not Y, that's not Z, but it can be incredibly important as you grow, as you change, as you scale. We've got to look at those things too.
So if I'm an IT provider, I'm often the one who's getting looped into the conversation with the customer who's saying, hey, we have problem X, help us solve for X.
Yeah.
And what I have seen is these MSPs and IT providers often find themselves on a wild goose chase on behalf of their clients, going forth and seeking for things, whether it's an ERP system or a procurement system, or it's a point of sale, or it's a phone system, whatever, you name it, file storage or whatever. Things that are maybe I hesitate to say it this way, but the typical IT service provider, maybe a little more out of scope for their typical, help desk cyber offering, right? Yeah. But yet because they have the trusted advisor relationship with the customer, they're expected to have the answer. So when the customer asks for it, the MSP feels an obligation to have an answer. So they go find one. What I'm hearing you say is it really will start with a meaningful conversation with your customer and asking the right questions to help determine the right course of action. If it's something they already have in their repertoire, so to speak, or if it's something with minimal effort or a little bit of focused effort, you can take them from where they are to where they need to go. Or maybe there is another piece of tech that needs to be sourced, et cetera, et cetera. What would your response to that be, Dustin?
So I fully endorse the MSP being the center of the universe for all things tech, right? And I would continue to encourage their clients to come to them for that answer. I see some shy away. That's not our wheelhouse, right? Which I don't love. I think everything should go through them because that's how shadow IT, they're going to wind up having to support it anyway, right? So I respect the answer. That's not our wheelhouse, and I'm not saying it has to completely be, but they need to be involved. They need to get their heads in the game, in my opinion. The second thing I hear is they will check cursory security. You know what I mean? This software passes muster for me because it has MFA. So I'm happy. I bless this for you to purchase, right?
Right.
And so they'll ask the things that they know about and care about and move on from there. But you can tell as somebody who implements software for a living, that's not quite enough for me. I want to ask more questions. And so I would say, consider bringing in a partner that does that and learn from them, right? Learn what questions they're asking as they go through this process. And as you know, and over the course of maybe a year or two, you can start codifying that process and learning what's asked. You'll find that whenever an organization comes to me, they always want something hyper specific to what we do. Dustin, we're looking for an accounting system for cupcake bakeries between the sizes of like 10 and 20 people that also work with nonprofits. And I'm like, there probably is 2 Dans in a van that make accounting software for cupcake bakeries. You know what I mean? But will it be supported if those 2 Dans in a van have a fight and they each get their own van? Like maybe a flexible platform that could facilitate cupcake deliveries is enough. And you don't need to buy a product hyper specific. I've seen MSPs go like, well, I did some research and I found that exact thing, but they don't look at those other factors. So get a partner, and work with them, let them be but make sure that you continue to control the relationship would be my advice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking over at our bullet points. Utilize and optimize versus panic buy. We kind of ran down that rabbit trail a little bit. And then you just touched on something that I think kind of sets us up for bullet point number 2. Become a rock star to your clients.
Absolutely.
And I see this often where certain IT providers kind of have a hammer nail approach to how they solution or problem solve for their customers. And they go, and understandably so, they go to where they are comfortable, they go to where they are competent, and where they know that they can deliver. And so I think some MSPs who find themselves in conversations with their customers and they're being asked for something that's outside of that competency or outside of that comfort zone, find themselves either shying away from the opportunity or shirking it off to somebody else, which puts your relationship with that customer at risk, or they just go back to the way they've known how to address it, regardless of whether it's in the client's best interest or even perhaps your own best interest. It's just the way you've known how to do it. When you leverage strategic partners that have competency that you don't, and you build working relationships with folks like Insight Automation, you're setting yourself up to be that rock star. So you get the benefits of being the trusted advisor with your customer. You get all of the opportunity to be the one who facilitates the revenue and capture some of that revenue as well. And, maybe come up with an answer for that customer that they didn't expect you to have. And now you just became much more invaluable to your client. What am I right, Dustin? What do you think?
You are. I'll illustrate it with a story from last week. You'll love this. So MSP partner came to me and said, Dustin, we got a client that wants an invoice approval process, invoice system. And, I asked them if they already know what their approval process is. And they said yes. And I told them, you could build it in like 2 days. And I was like, oh, you did? I was like, yeah, I've seen you this enough. I know you could do that. So I just told him that. And I said, did you hear what the approval process is? And he's like, yep, it's like 1 steps, they know it. And I said, can I talk to them first? And he said, no need. I already got it. And I said, let me talk to him. And they brought me on and I said, Steve told me, you know your approval process. Yes, we do. We've been doing it this way for years. I said, cool. And they said, tell it to me. And then they told me some of it. And I said, so that's what happens when you hit approve. What happens if you hit disapprove? And they go, what? What if you hit disapprove? I don't know. Well, who does know? We never thought of that. Oh, and Kathy's the one that does the approvals? Yes. Does Kathy work all 52 weeks of the year? No, she goes on vacation. What happens if Kathy's not there? What? What happens if Kathy's not there to approve it? Then what happens? Does just everything stop until Kathy's back? Well, I didn't think of that. Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to talk more about this approval process. Maybe this might take longer than 2 days. And
right.
It might. And so we had that conversation. I've had those conversations enough times that I know, like, it's not that they were lying, right? They truly believed they knew too. But by asking those sorts of probing questions, everybody in the room went, wait a minute, there's more to be decided here. And so I got to facilitate that, right?
And when you facilitate that, I think it's going to invoke a lot of confidence in the client when they start realizing these light bulb moments like, oh, wait, I didn't think of that. Yeah. That's the whole reason you're there as the IT provider, is to be the one who thinks of that. And if you're like, man, I'm in my wheelhouse and I want to be the master of the things within my wheelhouse, but I still want to maintain that trusted advisor relationship and have answers for those things outside of your wheelhouse, man, that's like, don't pass up on the revenue opportunities, the relationship building opportunities, and just being the rock star for your clients in the way that they are hoping you to be already anyway.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, ooh, low code, maybe not a thing that I do.
We all stay away from the stuff that we don't feel as comfortable with. But if you're working with a group that wants to partner genuinely in that way and not just take it from you, like, I want that Steve from that MSP asking those questions next time. We reviewed them all together. I was giving him lines that we use often. You've got to focus on not the happy path, right? In a situation like that, but all the other paths. And then the customer may say to you, this is how we usually do it. And then I'll usually say, is it okay if I build you something that usually works? You're like, no, like I need to know all the it's got to always work, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so I teach them that mindset, and then they're even more valuable to their customers, either because they're bringing a partner to the table that's doing the work, or they're learning to do it themselves, right? Lean into the parts you feel less comfortable in. That's what's going to set you apart from your competition, right? Yeah.
I love it. We've got about 9 minutes left before we're going to start wrapping up. It's hard to believe it's going this fast, but I want to do something a little interesting here with some of the time we have left. And we'll see if anyone plays along or not. But if you are watching this, and if you're watching the recording back later, don't be shy. We monitor the comments, so we'll come back and give you answers then. But I'd love for you to raise your hand if you've ever been part of a software implementation or product implementation, either for yourself or a client that went sideways for some reason, right? And B, you have Dustin here at your disposal, and he's really great at thinking on his feet. And he's had so many of these conversations before where he may be like, if this had been you, Dustin, what other questions might you have asked before either this project was greenlit or axed, et cetera, et cetera. So
I like it. If you stump me, I have to fix it for free. Come on, people.
Yes. Did you hear that? If you stump Dustin, he's got to fix it for free. So you've got the expert online right now. So feel free to drop a comment in the chat. Also, Anders, we see your comment here. You rolled out an integrated bunch of software for a consulting firm. It was great. So much better than disconnected apps. This was earlier on when we were talking about technical debt and a patchwork quilt approach to software. Yeah, I mean, living in the same ecosystem and applications talking to each other. I was just in a call a week and a half ago with an industry expert where we were talking about, for startups in the IT channel, one of the biggest priorities you need to have right now is your capacity for integration. That's the name of the game. A subpar product that's integrated with everything is better than the best in class that doesn't talk to everything else.
And it's amazing how many industry leaders don't have, in respective fields, don't have great APIs, or they realize the value of their APIs to the point where you got to pay big bucks for them, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not even just a question of, do you have APIs anymore? It's also, and what do they cost sometimes? Right. Because places are finding they can use that to upsell. Kind of like when you go to ride, learn to ride on a dolphin or something, and then the photos are like $80, so you can't get the photos, and then your kids are crying because they want the photo. And I'm like, that it costs more than actually riding the dolphin to get the photos of the dolphin.
That's right.
I would know any of this from experience.
Well, not this week because your vacation got cut short.
That's right.
That's funny. All right. With the 5 minutes that we have left, I would love for you to close out, Dustin, with one more story. And I'd love for you to pick from your repertoire a story of a time when you connected with an MSP and they were like, I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to do this, or whatever, right? And you guys came in and you helped that MSP look like a rock star. Can you give me an example?
Ooh, yeah, actually, I'm gonna pick a weird example. This is one that has happened to me 7 times. Okay, so not the most, but a lot. A lot of MSPs are getting purchased by other MSPs. Everybody's gobbling each other up. And they'll come to me and say, Dustin, BrightGauge isn't working for us because now we have 3 MSPs on Autotask, 2 on Syncro, and 1 on ConnectWise. And these 3 are using an Excel spreadsheet, and these 3 are using ConnectWise Cell, and this one's using Quozol because they're on a really old version. And we can't figure out what of all these tools to get around. And then I say to them, do you know what the big players use? And they said, which one? And I said, none of them. That's the truth. I am friends with many of the top 10 largest MSPs in the country, and none of them actually use any of those tools after a certain point. Maybe they'll keep it for their RMM, but the rest of it, they let them go. And what they said, what are they using instead? The stuff they already own. They're using Dynamics and Power Apps and Salesforce and HubSpot and products like that, just like their customers are, to run their organization. So I'm just saying that even in the MSP industry that has hyper-targeted tools and all these people trying to solve problems, none of those tools, once you get over 40, 50, 60, 80 employees, I know a lot of firms that aren't using them anymore. They're finding, wait a minute, I already own all these licenses because of my partnerships.
Sure.
I can build something flexible for us. And those are the ones that I find make the best stories for their customers when they see the power of using these flexible platforms to build the software that they're on. And I've seen them replace IT glue and all these tools that they assume they can't live without with these more generic tools and actually find better results. That goes industry by industry. The biggest one, though, is the construction industry. Procore is the big leader, and Procore is a great product, and it is punch you in the face expensive. ServiceTitan in the HVAC world is the same way. Good product, very high credit card fees, very, very expensive. Organizations are waking up in the field service, plumbing, HVAC, and the construction industries to, wait a minute, I can imbue my own secret sauce. What makes us us? Using these platforms like Salesforce, like Dynamics, like Power Apps to build a system, and actually at a cheaper price than what I was paying for the licensing of those tools. So I'm seeing it across a lot of industries, but one of the ones that we do the most often that I never expected was the MSPs themselves. It's wild. So there you go.
Man, what impactful story. And also a little controversial, I think, in the right circles as well. I think a lot of IT providers drink vendor Kool-Aid and get tunnel vision a little bit. But then as you mature and you grow, you start to realize that, the scope of your organization is not as limited as maybe you once thought. And the capabilities you have are probably greater than you once thought. And you're not as dependent or tied to, those people in your stack as much as they'd like you to believe. I think that's a really interesting take.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking any of those tools. I'm not saying ConnectWise is bad or Synchro is bad or Autotask is bad. I'm just saying that when you reach a certain level of maturity or a certain size, you start really hammering home what makes you distinct, and your software that you used to love might start to become a hindrance. And then all I'm saying is look at the platforms you own, because you might be able to keep that what makes you you by using those either in conjunction with or instead of those tools. So it even happens to the MSPs out there, believe me, because there's something that makes you unique, that secret sauce. Yeah.
I've seen it as myself, or, an MSP starts to gravitate more towards enterprise style tools or either building their own. And okay, we are out of time. What I would like to do as we wrap up, Dustin, who should reach out to you? Why should they reach out to you? How should they reach out to you?
Oh, awesome. So thank you so much. I would love to talk more with MSP partners. We have over 250 today. We can show you how to make more profit, both from regular licensing and from project-based revenue, by getting in the software game. That's the next frontier for MSPs. I truly believe that is helping their organizations with the software side of the world. Better reporting, better project management, better accounting systems, right? We can help get you into that game by partnering with us and help you unlock a lot more recurring profit and project-based profit. The best way to reach out to us is on our website, insightautomation.com. That's INCITE automation.com, like a riot, not the other kind. That one was taken when I was buying domain names. But reach out to us there. We've got a special MSP partner page. You can set up a meeting with us, and we'll have a discussion about who your clients are and what questions to be asking them, how you can help, that sort of thing. Okay.
And I just dropped Insight Automation on the LinkedIn chat. If you're on YouTube, you just can spell it yourself. Maybe I'll go add it there later. Dustin, has been an absolute privilege having you here today. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Before we go, if you are in the Greenville area, Greenville, South Carolina, if you're in striking distance of the upstate, this coming Thursday, we have our 15th monthly meetup at Fire Forge Brewery, Upstate Channel Collab. So if you are an IT service provider, MSP, you're a thought leader in the channel, an influencer, you are a vendor, a service provider in any capacity that gives a crap about this world, that's your people, that's your place. We'd love to have you there. I am Scofie, and I'm the founder of FindMyITPartner.com, and I want to help MSPs find their next client. So reach out to Dustin, reach out to me. I'm going to wrap up. There's going to be a title card here at the end with some other ways that you can follow us on other social platforms, wherever you're active and you consume these types of videos. Thank you so much for being here again, Dustin, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thank you.